Trust the Profits, it's the formula here. And we're talking about the third jewel of the Triple Crown Belmont Stakes. We got 8 horses entered in, and I am doing this before they give us the odds. We've got some assumptions on what the odds are going to be. We know who the 2 top favorites are. So it's just a matter of the fallout after that, where you're going to find the value and things of that nature. But obviously, we're going into this with 2 big favorites. You guys know who they are. We'll get to them in a second. So June 7th, Saturday coming up here. It is a G1 at Saratoga. And yeah, purse size for this one is going to be, can I find it?
$1 million.
Times 2. That's $2 million. It will be 10 furlongs on dirt. This is 10 furlongs, not 12, because it is at Saratoga. Do recall that they are not running the mile and a half you normally see at Belmont Stakes, just as they did last year when they were at Saratoga and when Dornoch won, and we'll get to that in a second. Actually, let's flip over to that now. We got 8 horses entered into the race this upcoming weekend, but what has happened in the past? So yeah, you see Dornoch won last year. Dornoch has a half running in this year with Baeza. Is that going to happen? Are we going to see Baeza win? I mean, it would be a little bit of an upset, but fun to watch. Dornoch previously in the Derby, 10th place, turned around to a mile and a quarter at Saratoga, getting a 201 there. Then before that, Archangelo, Modonegal, Central Quality, Tis the Law, Sir Winston, Justify, Taprit, Creator, and American Pharaoh. You can see a lot of the horses that have run in this race previously. Only twice in the last 10 years has a horse run in and won the Belmont Stakes and not run at all in the Derby. So that's what I'm pointing out in the column to the right there. We've got 2 winners of the Belmont Stakes who won the Derby that same year. Obviously, Justifying American Pharaoh. They also threw in the Preakness for fun, getting that Triple Crown for both of them. Tis the Law came in second in the Derby, Essential Quality 3 with a little bit of an asterisk there because we all know about Medina Spirit. That is what it looks like the last 10 years for Belmont Stakes. So let's look at this year for Belmont Stakes, starting with Journalism, who I think, all things being equal, is the best horse in this race. I said this at Preakness, and I didn't put him at top in Preakness because of the 2-week turnaround. I thought there were a couple other horses that just because of freshness were going to be better. We're going to be able to hold them off. And we all know what happened at the Preakness this year. There was definitely some bumping and grinding going on there. To me, I had a specific opinion on what happened in that race, and I was interested to see that not everyone shared it because depending on where you look at the video, what movements you see, what you would expect. Obviously, Steve Asmussen with Clever again had some pretty sharp opinions on the matter as well. But fact of the matter is, first place at the Preakness, starting out 5 lengths off the pace and then closing, holding off Gosger for a quarter of a length victory there. And again, I am whittling that down. A lot happened in that race. You can go back and watch. I did not clip it for this race. The horse did come in second at Kentucky Derby. It was roughly 7 to 8 lengths off the early pace, moving up half a length off at the 1 mile mark, but ended up losing to Sovereignty by 1.5 lengths there. The two of them really dueling it out down the stretch there. Journalism wins. It's going to be a Triple Crown, a 2.5 crown. What would you call that? I don't know. He came in second at the Derby, first at the Preakness. We'll see what happens here coming up at Belmont. Yeah, 5 wins in 7 races. He's certainly done quite a bit. Sovereignty, 3 wins in 6 races, including the last one at Kentucky Derby. Starting 9 lengths off the pace, closing hard at the top of the stretch with Journalism and beating him at 1.5 lengths. Second at the Florida Derby before that, different jockey, had Manny Franco. Very good jockey, but Junior Alvarado has been his main jockey. 5 lengths off the pace early on, closing on Japan Street, but still struggling to catch him and was 1.25 lengths off there. Did win that Fountain of Youth, starting 5 lengths off the pace, moving up. He's a closer. He doesn't sit super close to the pace, like that 5-length area, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Beautiful strides coming down the stretch. Wilmot, Junior Alvarado into mischief. Sovereignty, got to think he's going to be a big favorite going in, especially since he skipped Preakness, took some time off there and rested up. Baeza got one win in five races, two second place finishes, and a third place. That third place being in the Kentucky Derby. So we just went through 1, 2, and 3 at the Kentucky Derby. Baeza starting 8 to 10 lengths off the pace, but then ended up closing hard, trying to catch up to Sovereignty and Journalism. Nearly catching up to Journalism, was 1 3/4 lengths off of Sovereignty there. So he was like maybe half a length off of Journalism. Impressive run by Baeza. Before that, also running into with Journalism and losing by just under a length there. That's been his MO. Second at the Santa Anita Derby, starting off one length off the pace there, was definitely a bit closer to the pace than what he showed at the Kentucky Derby. Taking over at the top of the stretch before then being overtaken and fighting hard with Journalism for that 3/4 of a length loss there. That was the race that had a whole bunch of Baffert horses in it. If you remember, we had Citizen Bull, we had Barnes in that race, and they were the ones that fell back and didn't make the cut for the Derby. Yeah, well, Citizen Bull, okay, he made the cut for the Derby, but then you saw what happened with Citizen Bull. He was not Derby level, right? John Sheriff's, Flavian Pratt, McKinsey being the sire here, Puka being the dam here. So with Puka, Dornock last year, and the year before Mage. So definitely some solid bloodlines for Baeza in um, making up the Belmont Stakes participant here. And we are moving on to Rodriguez, winner of the Wood Memorial, switching to Mike Smith in that race, going gate to wire and winning over Grande by 3.5 lengths. 148.15, 9 furlong for Rodriguez in that race. Extremely impressive. Believe he came I don't know if he came close to no, maybe he didn't come close to the track record. It was within 1.5 seconds, maybe. Not super duper close, but in terms of what a lot of the horses were racing 9 furlongs for all the prep races, this was the one I was most impressed by. Just purely time wise was Rodriguez. Didn't have the strongest field. But that being said, he got out in front, kept him behind him, and put up the time, right? Doesn't matter who's behind you. You can just, if you can put up the time, that's the time. Third at the San Felipe, stalking the pace set by Barnes, unable to close, and defeated by Journalism by 11 lengths in that one. Yikes. Second at the Robert Lewis, stalking the pace set by Citizen Bull, but falling behind by 3 3/4 lengths by the finish there. Bob Baffert, Mike Smith, Authentic. And the thing we always discuss at Trust the Profits, right? In those first two races, the races before Wood Memorial, the San Felipe, the Robert Lewis, he's racing against Barnes, he's racing against Citizen Bull. What was the Baffert plan in that one? And it's not to say there's any fixing or anything going on there, but what was he looking to get out of Rodriguez? Was he testing him out? Was he running him up against what he thought were his better horses? Was Rodriguez maybe not as far along in his progress? So that's why we saw him do a little bit less and then explode out of the gates for the Wood Memorial. So I'm curious to see how Rodriguez actually does. This was the horse that I really wanted to see from Baffert in the Kentucky Derby, and obviously he couldn't make it. But yeah, here we are. We are talking about Rodriguez in the Belmont Stakes. Hill Road, 2 wins, 2 third places lifetime. Winner of the Peter Pan at G3, starting 6 lengths off the pace, set by Captain Cook, and then closing for a 3/4 of a length victory over McAfee. Then got third place at the Tampa Derby before that, 5 lengths off the pace, set by Owen Almighty, and moving up to third by the end there, 6 lengths off of Owen Almighty by the end. Those last 2 races trained by Chad Brown, previously trained by Adrian Murray. He did run in the BC Juvenile for Adrian Murray before being transferred over to Chad Brown. Yeah, third place at the BC Juvenile, but still he was like 4 lengths back of Citizen Bull. and gaming in that one, the one where the 2 Baffert horses just completely ran away with it. So Hill Road is an interesting prospect in this race, I believe. Finally, we have another shipper. Hill Road was a shipper from 3 races ago. This is a shipper from 1 race ago. So 6, 2, and 4. Sorry, I should change that to 7, 2, and 4. Fifth at the Preakness for Heart of Honor, starting way in the back, 15 lengths off the pace by the third mile mark in the Preakness, and eventually closing to fifth place, 8 lengths off of Journalism in that one. Before that, he was at the UAE Derby, losing to Admire Daytona. Second at the Al Bastakaya, closing hard on Galactic Star, but falling fractions of a length behind him. It's a closer coming from Jamie Osborne with Safi Osborne on the mount. Brings us to Crudo. So we're going to go through a couple Todd Pletcher horses here. 2 wins in 3 races lifetime. His biggest win, the Sir Barton. Sir Barton Stakes at Pimlico, going gate to wire in that one, beating Just a Fair Shake by 7.5 lengths in that one. Todd Pletcher, John Velasquez, Justify the sire here. This is the biggest unknown. Heart of Honor, I feel like we know more about him than we do about Crudo. All we did is see him run in the Sir Barton, and now he's jumping up. He's got the Justify bloodlines. I think probably he's good for it. So what's going to happen with him in the Belmont Stakes? Yeah, Todd is bringing in some wild cards, and then finally we got Uncaged. Also ran in the Peter Pan, 6 in the Peter Pan, starting 4 lengths off the pace after bumping an opponent. Eventually lost to Hill Road, the other horse we were talking about in the Peter Pan, 10 lengths back there. Winner of an allowance optional claimer at Aqueduct, starting 5 lengths off the pace, closing to beat On the Mount by 1 3/4 lengths. He's got Luis Saez on the mount here. He's definitely a closer, but I definitely feel like these 2 horses, this one is definitely outclassed, I feel, unless he's got something he hasn't shown us yet. And the previous one, we just don't know as much about, probably also outclassed. Both of them are definitely jumping up, but really what this comes down to is sovereignty and journalism and a little bit of Baeza. So my safe pick here, purely based off of the rest, based off of the Kentucky Derby win, is Sovereignty. He held off Journalism once before. Journalism ran Preakness. He's going off of 2 weeks rest to 3 weeks rest to come back to the Belmont to run another 1.25 miles. So that's a challenge. That's why I have Sovereignty over Journalism. For my value pick, I got to go with Baeza. You got to imagine that between Journalism and Sovereignty, there's going to be a lot of money going to them, and then everybody else gets something after that. Baeza's the one that can play with them. He's the closest one to the rest of them. I'm throwing in Hill Road in there. What I see happening with Rodriguez is this. I think you're going to get a horse like Journalism. You're going to get a horse like Baeza. You're going to get a few horses probably really pressuring him on the pace. They're not going to let him just walk away with it. And then you've got Sovereignty, who's going to be closing, Hill Road, that's going to be closing. I don't think it's going to be pace easy for Rodriguez. So hence, I don't have him in my top 4. I think there's going to be other horses that take over. I'd rather take a look at a Hill Road. Maybe Crudo. There could be some interesting horses out there for that 4th position. I really think the top 3 are kind of locked in. 1, 2, 3 at the Kentucky Derby, unless something really wild happens here. I think that's how it's going to end up. Anyway, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments section. We love to hear your comments. And as always, yeah, be safe, gamble responsibly, and have yourself a lovely